Hey everyone, so I hope you can hear me okay. I'm sitting outside, there's a bit of a breeze, and there's a train currently going by, and I'm wearing my sunglasses because the wildfire smoke is hitting our city lately, and so it's making my eyes burn and making them sensitive. So I'm just gonna wear my sunglasses and my headphones because I think you can hear me a little bit better when I'm outside when I have them on. So I've been meaning to sit down and film, a proper video with proper lighting and make it look nice, but my daughter has been crawling everywhere and she's starting to walk along furniture, and she's just been really busy and not sleeping well. So I've been very tired and very busy. I'm currently in between daycares as well, so it's been pretty hectic and I just haven't had time. So I thought quickly now, while she's having a nap, I would rush out here and just film something impromptu. I feel like I have a lot to say lately and I want to get my thoughts out there. So this video is going to be about responding to your questions that I made a post not too long ago just asking what you want me to talk about in videos and things you want me to address. And so I'm going to address those in this video. There's 7 here that I have, and then just some of my my most recent comments. So I don't always get a chance to read your comments, so I apologize for that. I just get too busy. So I try to read as many as I can, but I just don't have time always to read them all, and I definitely don't have time to respond to them all. So that's why I put out a post asking if you had specific video requests and just questions that you wanted answered. So that's what I'm going to be talking about in this video. So I'm just going to get right into it and start reading what you guys have asked and responding. So the first comment I had was, "Hi Melissa, maybe something you did to cope. How you distracted? Did you have hope you would get to where you are now?" So I really like this question because it's really applicable and I have a few things to say about it. So I did several things to cope, especially in the first year, my first year off of benzos and antidepressants when things were really, really bad for me. So this was in 2021. So I did a few things to cope, and I've mentioned this in other videos. My number one thing was I formed a support group, which was video chat. I found people on forums. People found me on my old YouTube channel. I found people in Facebook groups, and we just ended up private messaging each other, and I decided to put together this video chat group, and it would act as a support. All of the women that were in it were fairly bad. So several of us had akathisia, movement disorders, and pretty severe symptoms. So I think at the height of it, there was about 10 of us, and we would just use Facebook Messenger video chat, and we would hop on in the morning, whoever was available, and you would just come on and off all throughout the day. Whenever you needed help, whenever you needed to talk to someone, there was usually someone online, so you would just go on the chat and there would be someone there available for you to chat with. Sometimes all of us were on at once, but often it was just, a collection or a small chunk of us here and there all throughout the day, and that was my lifeline. And we were really raw and real and didn't hold anything back. It wasn't one of those things where you had to be somewhat poised or put together. It was just come bearing all. We're here to help each other. So I did that for about a year, and that was really, 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 really essential, I think, to get me to where I am today when I was at my worst. Because my own family, the only one who really helped me at that time was my mom, and then also my grandma, but she's fairly elderly, so she could only help so much, but my mom really helped me so much. So I lived with her, and I still do, but there was only so much she could do. She didn't understand it. She tried really hard to understand, but it was hard for her, as it is for most people who've never experienced this. So I just didn't have anyone to talk to in person. And my mom got tired of hearing about it, honestly, day in and day out. So I needed this support group. And so that was a main thing. I also did some other things, like I did a lot of walking, a lot of walking. I'm still to this day sensitive to high intensity exercise and weightlifting, which I used to do a lot of in the past, which is tough, but at least I'm able to walk. So I did a ton of walking. I also would swim. This is before I had a baby, so I had a lot more free time. I would go to the pool and just swim. Nothing hardcore. I wasn't like lane swimming or anything, but just kind of floating in the water and rolling around in the water and very casually just gliding. It really helped with the involuntary movements for me. I know some people can't do that and aren't able to maybe go out in public or don't have the means So, I mean, I didn't do it every day, but I would do it when I could. So those were things. I also tried to spend time with people. I mean, it was pretty limited at the beginning, but people who had healthy nervous systems. So I have a cousin who has 6 kids, and at the time she had 5 kids, and I would go out there sometimes and just spend time with them. I mean, I could never be present because I was so in my head because my mental symptoms were so severe, and then the movements and stuff, but I was very open with them with my struggles, and they were also supportive of me as much as they could be with their busy lives. So I would try to spend time with them, and I feel like there's an energy exchange with people with healthy nervous systems, and children especially. It was hard though because I had violent thoughts all the time. So it was just, I mean, it's hard for me to even think back because it was so difficult. But yeah, my support system was my lifeline, and walking helped. And a lot of the times when I was walking, if not all times I was walking, I was on a video chat with someone. So my phone came with me every time, and I was just connected to people just to distract all day long. It was so hard for me to do anything like watch TV or read because just the mental stuff was so bad. It just crowded out anything normal in my head. But when I was talking, it would help a little bit. So like passive things like TV and reading were very difficult. It was a little bit easier to chat with someone, but even that, like, it was just, every day was just hell. It's hard to even think about. It's very hard. And I did have hope because I would read success stories. So the forums can be like a double-edged sword because on the one hand you see all the horror stories, but on the other hand you can read some of the success stories of people who made it through the other side. So there is one lady in particular, if you're familiar with her, a lot of people are. She's in many of the forums, and she's told her story in many different places. So her username is Traumatized80. Many people are familiar with her. If you're not familiar with her, you can read her story on Surviving Antidepressants and Benzo Buddies and other places. She also has been on podcasts talking about her story. I connected with her, especially when I got pregnant, because I knew she was someone who went through pregnancy with this horrible state. And so I was able to connect with her. She was really sympathetic because she had been there before, so she helped me. I chatted with her on the phone. I'm still friends with her on Facebook to this day, and you know, we always are kind of supporting each other from afar. So she gave me hope, and I'm a very stubborn and strong-willed person by nature. I'm very determined, and so I would not let pharma win. I would get so defeated and ready to give up, and then I just would find this inner strength, just as the fight in me would come out and just be like, no, they're not gonna win, to hell with them, kind of thing. And so but I had to do that so often just to get through, you know. So I hope that's helpful. The second one says, hi Melissa, would you have waves of severe depression, like the kind that is hard to even do a task? I don't know what my brain is doing. So I've mentioned this in other videos, that it seems like people go either one of two ways when they have damage from these drugs or withdrawal. They either become hyper to everything or hypo to everything, meaning they're either jacked up where their brain and mind just won't stop, their body won't stop, they're involuntarily moving, their muscles are jerking, they're pacing, they're just heightened, they can't sleep, insomniac, paranoid, DPDR, all those things. Or they go the other way where everything almost shuts down. They become depressed, incredibly lethargic, their body just starts to sag, their muscles become weak, and it's almost like their nervous system just shuts down and they're unable to function. And so I was more on the hyper side, and like where everything was too much, everything was overstimulating. But there was one particular woman in our video chat group who was the hypo. I mean, she could not get out of bed. Her brain she felt like she had no thoughts. She couldn't think, she couldn't do much of anything besides lay all day. And she just felt this incredible lethargy. Anytime she tried to do anything, she couldn't walk, she couldn't cook for herself. I mean, she couldn't do much of anything, and she had a lot of the sagging skin, and she did have some muscle pulling, but it would pull her down like a fatigue type state. And so I didn't experience that. So and she had a lot of the depression and stuff like that, whereas I was more just constantly anxious, paranoid, obsessive. It either goes one way or the other. So, but I did find that I did get severely depressed from the state I was in, because I didn't get any respite from my symptoms ever. And so that made me depressed, just thinking, my God, like, is this really my life now? And I just can't take it for one more day. I cannot take these constant intrusions that I had in my mind, this hallucinating from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed. Like, am I ever going to function again? And just, the pain and the nerve shocking and the electrocutions and the prickling, and it was just, that made me depressed. I wouldn't say it was more a depressive state, more I would just get so defeated after, it was just this constant cycle of just symptoms for, months on end, and then I'd just crash and just be like, I can't do this anymore. So I hope that's helpful. The third one is, how are you doing now after the latest wave? Way better. So I've talked to people. I had about a 17-day wave, or maybe 17 days when I started to feel a little bit better, and then I would kind of crash again. It was about a 3-week wave, and it was a brutal, severe wave. I mean, everything came back, and it was just like being in acute again, if you want to call it acute. It was just like my symptoms were so severe again, just like they were at the beginning. And it lasted about 3 weeks, brutal. And then it just kind of lifted, and I've been feeling well ever since. I have come down with some type of sinus thing or something. I don't know. My allergies went crazy when I came off these drugs, but as you know, they are mast cell stabilizers, and they tend to have an antihistamine effect. So when you come off, a lot of people experience things like MCAS, so mast cell activation syndrome, histamine issues. And I've never been diagnosed with that, but my allergies went way up and I've had way more sinus problems than I had in years, because I've had the sinus surgery prior to even starting psych drugs. In 2011, I had sinus surgery, felt well for years, and then came off these poisons, and my allergies went way up. And I actually had a live blood analysis done a month or two ago with a naturopath, and she did see, and I could see, because they put it on a screen, like your blood cells moving in real time, and you could see the histamine. Like, she showed me, she said, you do have increased and higher than normal histamine. So, I mean, I think that contributes to why I get these sinus problems. So I have been experiencing some sinus symptoms over the last week or so, but they are getting better and dissipating, and I feel like that always sort of triggers things a little bit for me. But I wouldn't even say I'm in a wave per se, but I have been feeling much better the last 2 weeks. I've been really active, pushing myself too far, I'm sure, too hard. I mean, I went to the fair, so that was in town here, the Canada Day celebrations. I went to the fair 3 different days. I went swimming, I went to the parade, the fireworks. I've been walking, I've been gardening, I've been doing a lot that I would never have been able to do 2 years ago. So overall, yeah, I'm doing a lot better after the last wave. So much improvement. The fourth one, I don't think it's really a question. No, it's not a question, I don't think. No, it's more of a comment. So I'll just leave that one there. Then I have another one. I guess that was a few different comments in one. So the last one here, or new comment, is what to do to heal from akathisia. So I feel like akathisia is one of those things that typically your body can't sustain forever. That's my personal opinion. And typically, I'm not saying that nothing will ever flare it up, but I think over time it just naturally dissipates. Oh, the wind just picked up. Just a second. To the point where you become functional again. That's been the case for me, but there are things that will flare it up again. Everybody's different when it comes to that. Too much stress, too much activity, supplements, vitamins, other over-the-counter drugs, antibiotics, medications of many kinds. So I think over time it just dissipates, as long as you are not still taking the drug that is causing it. But I realize withdrawal can cause it as well. So I think as long as you really pay a lot of attention to your self-care It sounds like a really general answer, but it's the truth, and it's the only thing that I've really discovered works over the years. Just really doing a lot of self-care and pushing yourself, but not too hard, and kind of stretching yourself over time, you know, doing things that you weren't previously able to do in slow increments, and just doing the basics of self-care as much as you can, being off of the offending drug. And if it's a withdrawal, like I said, taking care of yourself and just letting time heal it. I just feel like things naturally calm down over years. It's impossible to say how long it takes because it's different for everyone, but that's typically what I've seen with people over time, even the women in my support group. As I don't talk to all of them anymore, but I talk to people who talk to them, and so everybody seems to be doing better. Some of us have almost completely healed. Some of us are maybe halfway, but generally everybody is doing better. So it's proof that time seems to be the main factor. So those are the comments that I had on my post about what you want me to talk about in videos and just questions you had. I'm just going to go through a few of the most recent comments on my videos and just respond to them. Might just take me a second to find some of them. I'm just scrolling through right now. Yeah, so a lot of people sharing their story. It just seems like, you know, this is just becoming so common. It's really awful. I just wish they would ban these drugs. Yeah, I mean, even if they work, like I've talked about before, whether they're benzos, antipsychotics, antidepressants, it just seems like it's not sustainable over time. Your body is smart, it adapts, and I feel like you eventually have issues at some point. So yeah. Someone had asked me, did those people have a chance to heal? I feel parts of my brain being physically black, so it worries me a lot. I think this was in connection to the support group. So I kind of already answered that question, or maybe it was I just can't remember the beginning part of that question. Let me just click on it. Oh, this person asked, did you ever feel electricity go out in your head? I didn't feel that, but I feel burning. So when I first came off antidepressants, I had brain zaps, which is really common. And then once I took benzos and was polydrugged and cold turkeyed off the benzos, I started getting sensations like hot brain, burning brain, pins and needles, like a lot of tingling and weird nerve sensations, a lot of pain, tremendous pain in my head and face. And I still get that in a wave. But I wouldn't say I felt it go out in your head, but there's one success story in particular that this reminds me of, where this woman had taken citalopram for many years, like me. I think she took it for 10 years, and then she was on Xanax and she was polydrugged, you know, such a similar story with all of us. And it was just like poof, it was like something just went out and her body just, something she said she felt like a zap almost, and then everything just left her body. It was like all of her emotions were dead, everything was just gone, her feelings of pleasure, her ability to function, gone. And she went on to heal. It took her quite a long time, but she did, and that's what this comment reminds me of. So and I think I had responded to this person's comment. Yes, I did. And I have heard of that, and that person did heal. And I have heard, there's another one that I can think of, a lady I used to video chat with, and she had something similar too, where it was just like poof, and everything was just, it was like everything just shut down and she couldn't function, and she also healed. So yes, I do believe that those people heal. I've seen it happen before with those type of symptoms of those people healing. So I'm just gonna read just the comments on this other video here that I have, just about coaching. So I wanted to talk about that. I have been in contact with Dr. Josef Witt-Doerring, who I did an interview with. If you've seen that video, I did it about a month ago, and he's now posted it on his channel. I've been in contact with him about potentially coaching, and I have chatted with people, and had video chats with people who have asked me to coach them. It's just been more conversational where, you know, I share my success story, they can ask me questions, and I talk about what I did to distract and I think what contributed to helping me get better. And so that's a little bit more informal, but I have been doing some of that with people who have been asking, but I'm looking potentially into doing some more formal coaching, just kind of finding out what type of training is involved. And I may be starting a little bit more of a more formal coaching business, either maybe with Dr. Witt-Doerring or on my own. I'm just looking into that now. And again, my time is limited, so it takes me much longer to do things now than it did before I had a child. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. So another lady asked, I am in the other camp, as you mentioned, with the muscle weakness. It is worrisome. Have you seen these people heal as well? So this person is talking about, I did a video about muscle symptoms, and like I mentioned in this video, some people just seem to be jacked up and other people it seems to shut down. And she had asked about the shutting down part and the muscle weakness. And again, I think of this one particular guy. His first name is Matt. He may not be the Matt that immediately comes to mind, who's a little bit more well known in this community. I think there's actually two of them, but this was a different guy named Matt. And I remember he wasn't in our video chat support group, but we used to talk to him because one of the ladies in the group had gotten to know him a little bit more personally. So he would hop on our chats sometimes. And he was someone whose body completely shut down. He was completely bedridden. His body was super heavy. He was so fatigued. He felt just dead almost, or that he was dying. And he completely healed. And I know he was on benzos, and he did do a bit of a taper. I think it was maybe a few months long taper. I can't remember exactly how long. And he did eventually heal. And so I think of him in particular. He was the first person that came in mind when I read this comment. So yes, people do heal from that as well. I don't know if it's necessarily important what symptoms you have. I think just like a lot of people say, and the other coaches will say, that time heals, and it doesn't, your symptoms are irrelevant. It's all the result of nervous system dysfunction and dysregulation. And I do agree with that. I used to kind of think, oh yeah, whatever, when I used to hear that, because it took me so long to recover, if I dare say that word. I'm mostly recovered, but it took me 4.5 years. But I do agree with that in general, that people do heal over time. And you have to be careful with what you read, because the people who are protracted many years, I'm not saying that's not possible, but I think in a lot of circumstances, if you're just reading a thread, it can be horrifying. But then if you do have private, I've learned that when you do have private conversations with those people, there's always more to the story, or usually more to the story. So I'm definitely not discounting the people who are protracted for many years, because I mean, I'm in my 63rd month now from when this started. It's definitely something that can last a very long time, but a lot of the times I've learned that people who are many years protracted, a lot of times there are other things involved, other conditions, other drugs being used, and just things that can contribute to feeling worse. So I'm just gonna leave it there. Someone else asked, does physiotherapy help? I think it can help in just a little bit of management of symptoms. So, I mean, I think anything you can do to help your body, that would help your body in general, if you weren't in this state, I think can help. Whether it's acupuncture, physio, massage, all of those type of sort of alternative therapies. I mean, obviously everybody's bodies responds differently, whether you're drug damaged or not. I think it all can be cumulative. So if you do find that, I think it could help with, this person asked, with muscle pain, stiffness, and weakness. Definitely, I think with stiffness, I mean, that's their kind of specialty, is muscle, and helping the body return back to homeostasis as far as like musculoskeletal stuff. I think it can help. I don't think there's ever one thing that's going to be the answer for you, but I think all of the small things that you can do that can add up to overall health will help you in the long run. So let's see. Yeah, so that's those seem to be the comments on that one. I'm not going to do a ton of more replies, but I'll do maybe just a couple more. I did post a week or two ago. It was just a YouTube post. It wasn't a video, just showing, I actually had come across in my papers, my filing cabinet, my diagnosis and my medical report that got me on disability. So it's hard to look back. You can see that if you go through my post on YouTube. It shows the akathisia and the generalized musculoskeletal movement disorder. So I do have those diagnoses. You can see those on my medical report if you go through my YouTube posts. I know that some people, okay, I'm just going to do this last one here. Someone asking if sickness makes you worse, and unequivocally, yes. I have had a few different viruses, colds, respiratory infections throughout this, and I've always found an increase in symptoms. And this person asked, how long did it take you to return to baseline? And typically for me, it seems to be 3 weeks to a month. I know, again, that varies from person to person. Some people can recover and bounce back quickly. Some people it takes longer. I think it does make a difference if there's medications involved, which sometimes are inevitable. So whether you have to take antibiotics or whether you're just going to ride it out, I do think it affects symptoms. I read at some point that the immune system, when it's stimulated or activated from some type of sickness, that it does then in turn activate the nervous system. So to me, that makes sense why people get increased symptoms when they're sick. So that's typically been my pattern. So I don't think it matters what type of sickness you have. Anything that can activate the nervous system or the immune system, I think can increase symptoms. So hopefully this was helpful. I appreciate all the comments and the questions. Again, I don't always get to them, to read them all, and I definitely don't respond to them all, but I'm here and I will let you guys know if I do get more into coaching. And yeah, if you have any other video suggestions or comments you'd like to make, questions you have to ask, let me know in the comments, or you can reach out to me via email. I will leave my email address in the description if you want to contact me personally and you're uncomfortable leaving a public comment, or you want to chat a little bit more personally. Then I always check my emails, so I will leave that in the description box. And I hope you guys are doing well, and I'll see you next time. Bye.